Welcome again to the Gun Talk. This week, we are going to be talking about the government shutdown and how that's going to affect you guys. But before we get into all the
All
gritty
right, I'm back.
details, how's it going, Big Hoss? Before we get on to the gritty details of this podcast, we're going to look at some of our sponsors of the channel, and also a couple of other ads. Those threads, if you use the codes down there below on the screens, you'll get $1 off from your orders, and you'll help out the channel. Hey, Kenan, how's it going? Here through our other channel sponsor, Dubby. What are you guys thinking about the government shutdowns going on so far?
I mean, they're not great. Whenever you have any kind of government shutdown, that's not a good thing at all. Because some people's you know well-being runs on that branch of government or whatever that um, is relying on that.
I mean, as a person who lives off of disability and Social Security, I mean, that could affect my well being.
Yeah, that's never good when you're messing with people's lives. Well, we're on I believe day 3 of the government shutdown,
Yes, I believe so.
and I was watching earlier on the Senate broadcasting. No one's coming to agreement. They're all talk, and no one's agreeing to anything.
Well, I mean, these do happen a lot, and it's all because one party member has a dispute, or several party members have a dispute, and they don't want to agree with the other party, and this and that, and it's all you know that kind of thing. But it's usually somebody wants something. I believe that's how it goes. Is somebody wants something that somebody else doesn't want to give them. Not necessarily in those government branches, but within the government itself, in the Senate or all that. They're after a certain thing to please somebody, and you know, everybody can't have their way.
I agree with that, and not only is it like for you, Big Hoss, affecting Social Security, Medicaid, food stamps, and stuff like. It's also affecting our next background checks for firearms, big time. Because I don't know, some of the people who are going to be watching this or who is viewing on this doesn't realize that the National Criminal Instant Background goes through the ATF and FBI. So we're having a government shutdown. They're pretty much delaying the process because they don't have enough manpower to run all of these background checks every day.
Do you want me to leave for a second, come back, and I'll have my camera working, or do you just want to proceed this way?
You can go ahead and do that. That's completely fine. But all far as I know, how this government shutdown began was Democrats didn't want to deal with the budget cuts of the healthcare system.
All right, here we go. I don't know why it's so zoomed in and everything, but I guess I guess it's just the thing that it's running on. Usually, I'm pretty far away from it.
Oh yeah, it's technology. What do you expect?
Yeah.
My biggest question is, my concern and whatnot for these politicians. I'll chime in, you guys, is that these Democrats want everybody to have Medicaid, but if you look at it, a lot of people are scamming the government out of these benefits. They're able to work, they're able to afford their own insurance, and their own food, but they want to rely on government applications to get food stamps, healthcare, and stuff like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have seen that happen quite a few times in my times of, having to go to the Social Security offices and, go through the process of obtaining my benefits that I need because I'm medically unable to do anything.
Yeah, and how mad does that make you when you see those things going on where it's going to affect you to get the right care you need?
I mean, quite frankly, anytime I see someone do that, it does make me angry because it took me years to obtain my disability benefits, and I see all these people around me who is like, oh, that person could probably work, and oh, that person doesn't look like they have anything wrong with them. Yet they're the ones getting disability and benefits.
Yeah, I've seen. I know. Uh,
It says the recording. Oh, my recording has stopped. No, you're wrong. You aren't being recorded anymore. Everyone else is still being recorded.
it's just probably something going on with this server. But what I've seen, and I know Democrats, Republicans, and even President Trump could actually look on YouTube, Facebook, and all that and see all these people bragging about scamming the government out of food stamps, like thousands of dollars of food stamps a month for it. And I think that's why he's cracking down on all these spending cuts, because if he can work, work. So I don't know how else you guys feel about that part, because I know a lot of these spending cuts are hitting to a lot of people.
Well, what concerned me, and this is a weird thing, and I know a lot of people. This is probably a hot topic for a lot of people, but they just passed this big beautiful bill thing talking about tax cuts, tax breaks, everybody getting a bunch of money and stuff like that. And where did that come from? And it it sounds like, if we're cutting spending, why are we giving everyone cuts and money and stuff like that? I mean, I get it. People want money and they need money, and it's not necessarily, we're not necessarily dying for money, but I mean, if people would stick together more and work together more and just be more of a community, be more of a unit instead of separate um, entities, I guess you could say. Um, just stop complaining and get work. Um,
Yeah, I hear you because right now Trump is planning on laying off thousands of federal workers because of this government shutdown. And I really think, most of these politicians really need to have their but or their income cut to feel like how it is for the rest of us.
I mean, that's definitely not fair to them.
yeah. Um, I mean, they're not wanting to stop working, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure um they were told, this is what's happening. You have to stop working. You know,
I was just reading this about the background checks is that it's going to delay the system, and so all the people who are have those 3 to 7 day waiting periods to get a firearm is going to be longer because of this process. And if Trump are uh, planning on laying off a whole bunch of people, that's really going to delay the process.
Yeah, it really does go towards more. I mean, this country is very much a machine. If you remove even the smallest cogs in the machine, it will cause the machine to slow down or stop working altogether.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. And I don't know if you heard about this as well too, with all these crazy things going on. Is Oklahoma just busted 120 people with uh, CDLs that are not complete and driving on these damn roads. And all of them were illegal immigrants. So not only is the government shut down, chaos is happening all over the country. I don't know there in Louisiana where you're at, Big Hoss, is if there's riots or stuff going on there with uh, ICE and all that.
Um, I mean, it could definitely happen. It's not hard and not, unfortunately, not too hard to think of people rioting in this country whenever you see we have so many riots already about even slightest things.
Oh yeah, because this this is the perfect time to have a firearm to protect yourself and all of that. With all this craziness going on. I know I was watching earlier a news reporter covering all of this got threatened if he didn't leave, and they were going to shoot him if he didn't leave an ICE facility. So I would say it's the perfect time to have a firearm, but with the government shut down, I don't know how soon you can get one. What are you thinking over there, Ken?
I'm not quite sure. I just came in, so what was said?
I'm talking about like how this government shutdown is slowing down the process for the backgrounds, plus how crazy this world's getting, and all these riots on the ICE facilities. I don't even know like how bad it is over there in Louisiana. I'm only seeing Chicago and Portland.
Um, I mean, where I'm at, we don't see much. Not that I'm saying there is problems, but I mean, we drive around places. We don't see, any kind of crisis things going on, or um, I mean, it doesn't look like there's any kind of change at the moment. In the bigger metropolises like New Orleans and Baton Rouge, I don't know how it's going there. It could be complete chaos, but um, in the smaller towns, it's pretty quiet.
I mean, quite frankly, the biggest riot we ever saw was whenever our local team won a football game and they paraded the end goal, down the street.
Did they even riot down there during the whole entire Black Lives movement?
I know in New Orleans there was a so-so riot. It was more like a march on what used to be Jefferson Square. I don't know what it's called now.
It's still Jefferson Square. They just took away the
Yeah,
Jefferson
they
statue.
wanted Jefferson's statue taken down because he at one time owned slaves. So, they immediately wanted his statue taken down. Um, which, I mean, it was a landmark for such a long time. I'm, I'm not one way or the other, but I'm more for history. And this was a historical site, a historical statue, been up hundreds of years, nothing going on wrong with it. But since he as a person owned slaves, um, they wanted the entire statue um, taken down, and it happened. So, you know, it was sad to see it taken down, but it had to happen. And I mean, I'm not bitter about it or anything like that. I have no negative feelings toward it. Like I said, I just, seeing any kind of historical landmark being torn down um, is kind of a shame. Um, but I mean, in the same breath, I mean, you could say the same of the Saddam statues that were in Iraq, that were being torn down. Those were, I mean, it was glad to see those taken down, because the guy was a terrible guy, and it raised morale in America seeing them being torn down. Um, you know, and
Yeah,
so the knife cuts both ways.
I agree. You know, I'm a history buff myself. I love history, especially World War II era. But you know, trying to alter even like that, or to me, what really got me was the Redskins, the Washington Redskins,
Right.
and how they made them change it to the Commanders.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm never gonna see the Washington Commanders as them. I'm gonna see them as the Redskins because that's what I'm so used to growing up, and that's part of our history.
Right. Uh, as long as I was growing up, until it happened a few years ago, they were the Redskins, and I mean, um, I agree. It's a hard change because they were the Redskins since the beginning. Um, but I mean, it's something that happened, and I mean, I don't really watch football anymore, so um, not because of that, just because I'm not as big a football fan anymore. I don't have the patience for it anymore. Um, so but yeah, it was a one of those things you just kind of have to get used to, I guess. It's something hard to do, but it'll have to be done. I mean, the thing is, we have to try and make everyone happy. Uh, and the all this time before then, if somebody wasn't happy, that was fine. If you were picked on, that was fine. If you had mental disabilities, you were put into an asylum and mistreated. Um, Now it's like we have to accommodate everyone, but there's still people who don't want to follow the trend, who don't want to follow the rules. Um, and it's a shame because now is the most together, I guess you could say, the most accepting time in American history, I would say. Um, I'm not saying, I'm not going to say closeness because we're not. We're very separated and individual and all that stuff like that. But we're more accepting of each other now than any time in American history. And you know, uh, not everybody is treated like they should be still, but it's been a lot better for people um, in their treatment. Um, a lot more people are being accepted into society, as in like the 60s and 70s and 80s and stuff like that. They were outcasts. Um, so I mean, if we have to change a few things to make the outsiders come into feel like they're a part of the society, I mean, it's not a terrible loss. That's just my opinion, though.
Oh yeah, I I hear you. Um, I just got an update about the government shutdown. As of 3 minutes ago, there's people are saying there's no end in sight at all. It's going into next week for the continuing of the shutdown. And what I'm seeing here, they're doing the blame game uh, all the way around.
Yeah,
And this is sad that two groups can't come together to one to stop the government from staying shut down. And my question is this going to be the longest government shutdown in history or the shortest?
yeah. Um,
Because what I'm seeing here, House Majority Leader Jeffries is blaming the Trump and Republicans. Uh, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer also accusing Republicans. But what I saw earlier today, they want people who are scamming the government to still have their benefits and not get cut. While Trump administration is trying to get rid of all the fraud and scams and everything with it.
and right, that's usually what happens. They get to the blame game, and this could be over tomorrow. This could be over the day after that. This could be over 2 or 3 weeks from now. Could be over months from now. I mean, we just don't know right now. It's whenever they stop their their little belly aching and stuff like that, and they come together and they say, well, let's fix things instead of being the problem, let's be the solution, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to find the solution when no one's agreeing with you.
Right.
Because, like, for example, we have our weekly team meetings. We all agree on something, you know, and I'm very open minded about everything. You're kind of silent over there, Big Hoss.
Um, quite frankly, I've just been listening, and I think this is any time like this, it does go back to what Abraham Lincoln said, as a house divided cannot stand. So this stuff like this has been going on for a long time, and I don't see that we're going to get exactly agreement from anyone, but we don't, we'll just end up getting a compromise.
What do you think is either one of you think it would be a future compromise for this government from not staying closed for much longer that would actually help American people? Because the government works for us, but they don't act like they work for us.
That is very true. They should be working for us instead of against us anyway. And by shutting down, it's basically shutting the society down.
Yeah,
I
that's
agree.
go go
And
ahead.
I think I agree, and I think the only way that we're going to be moving forward is for them to realize the impact they're having on society. And I know this will never happen, but learn their importance and their job, not like their title. That it seems like they do it to to be, I'm senator such and such, or I'm representative such and such, or whatever. Instead of that, realize that they're in a position of power, and that um they have a job. They're not there to be uh whining and belly aching. If they've ever worked if they've ever worked a 9 to 5 job, this is the same thing. If you stop doing your job at a 9 to 5, stuff shuts down. And um you know
Oh
they
yeah,
need to learn they need to learn that this works the same way. If they stop their job, it's going to shut stuff down.
oh yeah, I completely agree. And I hate, and I'm using this very likely. I really hate these politicians. It doesn't matter if it's on the left, on the right, that say they represent us, but turn around and do something against what's good for us. If for a good example, like I said last week on the Colorado gun laws, we had a bill come up for giving tax breaks for people who, if they buy firearm safes, they get a tax break. Kind of like how electric cars, you get a tax break on them. But they declined that. And so that that would have, one, benefit us into two ways. One, getting a tax break. Two, keeping our firearms safe. It gives us a motivation to keep them safe.
Right.
And it's hard to, trust these government officials to do what's best for us.
Right. I mean, you gotta have the people in mind as much as the government as a whole in mind. You have to respect the the amendments, the Constitution, and such things like that, because that's what our whole country is supposedly based off of. Um, and I'm pretty sure they didn't make them, to be abused or um, taken for granted. They're there to guide us to move forward and to help the country. I mean, do they need refreshing from time to time with the times? And and you know, as the times change, will they need building? Yeah, of course. I mean, nothing is meant to stand forever. I mean, if you have just the original amendment there, I mean, it's not gonna last forever because they were made in 1776 or so, and it's we're going on 300 years later. That's a long time without maintenance. I mean, you look at it like a car. I mean, you're not going to drive 100,000 miles and not have maintenance on it, you know. So the bills, the amendments, all these things, you have to, you know, keep them fresh and you know, keep them ever changing because people, the definition of normal is whatever the times accept it as. There is no real normal. There's just what people accept it as at the time. So one of the things is that you have to change those things with those times to accept the normality of them, and also take everybody into account because we're not uh you know, several thousand people of a country anymore. We're a few million people of a country. We're like 10 million people or plus of a country now, and that kind of growth requires growth in the government and growth in the, you know, all the things, everything. So the people in charge need to realize that just because we have these amendments doesn't mean they're gonna stand forever. They will need to be built upon and changed. And I know they're doing that, but they need to do it together instead of, oh, I want to put a bill in, but I also want to add in that we get a hopped up salary and you know, I want this from my state and I want this from my state, but we're all going to put it into this bill that's like 200 pages long. So the president's not going to have time to read this whole thing. He's just going to sign it instantly. And we're going to get everything we want in this bill under the guise of something that everyone wants.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, don't know if you guys heard about this, but 3 days ago, I guess right before the government had its shutdown in Texas, they just ruled in federal court that is unconstitutional to ban firearms in post office. I heard this from one of my favorite gun YouTubers, Colin Noir, and it's this post. I just looked it up, saying the U.S. Postal Service policy banning people from bringing firearms into post office violates the Constitution. A federal judge in Texas ruled Tuesday. So I don't know what's in the. I believe that's in the right step for protecting our Second Amendment rights here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, yes, there's the drawbacks of what if that one person who has ill intent, but what are the odds of that one person going in?
Yeah, and as like what he said, like back when we were kids, we heard the term "he's going postal." You know, that
Yeah.
right there is one thing we need to be protecting ourselves from those kind of people. And even so, throughout, even today, nowadays, people are going very postal over stupid things that the government's doing.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't you can't punish everybody for what a few people have done. Um, because not everybody is the same person. Not everybody has the same problems that one person has. Um, so you know, um, things are going to be different for people. Um, sure, maybe one person a long time ago walked into a post office and started shooting. That doesn't mean everyone is going to walk into a post office and shoot, people. It
Oh no,
just,
I would rather feel safe knowing that I can go into somewhere and not have to worry about being shot because I'm armed, and it's like to me a little security. I don't know how is it for you guys, but to me it's a little security knowing that if someone comes in and this place has no security guards, who the hell is going to protect me from the guy that's going postal in there?
I sort of agree with Lion here because, um, I mean, I don't really carry a gun at most places. I only carry a knife, but it is better than nothing.
Yeah. How many places have you guys walked in that has no security guards, no nothing, and it says no guns allowed?
Um, I mean, nowadays it's mostly just federal and federal buildings and schools, but also there are always security guards. There aren't many places that don't have some sort of protection that don't allow firearms down here.
Man, I'm jealous of you guys down there because here you're not even allowed to have a firearm in a movie theater. And a few years ago, you had that movie theater shooting in Aurora, you know, and that's to me a big ordeal. I
and
yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. We had a, what you call it here,
Movie theater
theater
shooting.
shooting, movie theater shooting here, and actually, our SWAT team reaction time was the fastest in like the country. I think we were there like 18 seconds after it happened, or like 18 minutes, something like that. It was like they were there, like guns drawn, uh, person caught, uh,
If you remember, they didn't catch the person, they shot the person.
or they shot the person. But like it was it happened and it was over all and within a half hour.
Okay. Curious, what like out of that whole entire ordeal, how many were injured and how many were dead besides the shooter?
I
Um, if I remember right, there were only there were no fatalities, but there were like 18 wounded, and then one dead from, and then the only person who died was the shooter.
Okay.
and it wasn't a person from our state. It was a person from another state who came over and did the shooting. He was having some problems going on in his life or something like that, and he just decided to do it. I don't know. They don't know why. Nobody knows why. It happened.
Okay. You bring up a real good point, and you know, don't know why, but it had something wrong going in his life, so it must have been mental health problems or some kind of personal problem that could have been helped, right?
It could
Yeah.
have if they would have
If they would have
known.
sought help or someone would have sent them help, it would probably would have stopped what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody said that he was holding it like he was always kind of weird and like stuff like that, and he always had kind of problems and stuff like that, but they didn't know he would have done this, but he never got help or anything like that, I think, or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
it was a confusing case because it's they were like he seemed like a guy that wouldn't do this, but he did, or either that or they were like looking for him or something like that. I don't remember. This was a long time ago. I
Yeah.
just I just remember the law enforcement side of it was quite amazing because they were like it was the fastest response time in the country or something like that.
But
Yeah.
then again, it was mostly because the police were right across the street, saw what was happening, and they were able to call in the SWAT team, which was only a few miles down the street.
See, that's the downside part of that. Officers are never going to be there at the right time. They was lucky that they were there at that time. You know, but not everywhere is like that. So I know I will want to cover all of this next week's episode, but to give a little insight, because you said that was the fastest time that you guys seen police. Have you guys heard about the Greenwood Mall shooting? Happened back in 2022.
Yes, I believe I did hear about it. Wasn't that the one who a man ended up shooting the shooter? Um, who he technically wasn't supposed to be carrying a gun in the mall, but he did, and because of that, he stopped the shooter.
Yes, and that happened within 15 seconds. You know, of it, and luckily no one was hurt or injured, all because this guy with a firearm who was legally allowed to have stopped this from happening. And can you guys believe it was 40 yards away, 10 rounds, and no one got hurt besides the shooter?
Yes, I do believe that is a um there are a few occurrences of that, one including there was a shooting in Texas where a shooter came into a church and started shooting, and there was this one uh old man who happened to have a gun on him ended up stopping the shooter with a shot before any were injured.
Yeah. You know, there's some great stories out there with people with good guys with a gun taking on bad guys with a gun that helped out the police. And I know, Kenan, that was a major part of your idea topic we're going to cover next week. And I'm excited to dig in on that topic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's definitely something I would, want to chew down to the bone to really get to that the depth of those situations, because it is something that is true that there are good guys out there who take it upon themselves to stop bad guys. And isn't that what kind of our culture has always enjoyed whenever it comes to comic books and movies?
yeah,
But in real life, it doesn't seem to be as accepted.
I agree 100% with you because you look at most of the movies, you have Avengers. You have the Justice League, X-Men taking on bad guys, and they're so welcoming. But when you have like the guy who stopped uh, uh, a bad guy with a gun before anybody can get hurt, oh, everybody's beating down on him and criticizing him instead of saying, "Hey, thank you, I appreciate you did a really good job."
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the world if they can't do that. It's the same thing with celebrating someone's death. The minds of these people these days, there's something wrong. And you know, I know we're about close to time. I like to say the last part is up in Minnesota. One of the church shootings up there. I don't if you guys heard about where they stopped the guy from coming into the building, and even someone who was unarmed still helped stop the shooter.
Yeah.
And so um, that brings up a good point. It's like I have a couple classes coming up for people who are listening who are in the Denver area. Um, a Colorado CHP class um, on the 7th. This is the 17th. And then for all you churchgoers here in Colorado, I'm also doing countering the mass shooter threat / church safety on top of that. So if you guys want to attend, the link is down below in the bio and sign up. You'll learn a lot of good information, especially how to target or identify a threat. And how important is that? To me, it's very. I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, whenever you try to identify a threat, it isn't that easy, to be completely honest, because they may just look like a normal person and then all of a sudden pull out a weapon and, start firing. So you can never really tell until it is at the moment, like split second. I mean, yes, there are some people out there who do show behavioral traits that can, give them away. Like they'll be either trying to dodge cameras or trying to hide things, but that's not always the case.
Oh yeah, and I agree um, with you 100%. When I went through the USCCA's countering the mass shooter threat, I've learned quite a bit through that education, um, and it was very informational for me. I'm going to play you guys the ad to that so you guys could see what all they kind of talk about for the countering the mass shooter threat, so everybody who's watching this can get a good understanding of it.
Countering the mass shooter threat. This course takes data compiled from mass shootings and teaches you how to recognize if a person may be planning a mass shooting, respond during a mass shooting incident, stop or reduce mass shootings, and implement an emergency operations plan. With special security considerations for schools, churches, and businesses, you will walk away with the confidence to respond in the event of an active shooter. Register for your class today.
Yeah,
We actually have a lot of those classes down here. It's like one of the most happening classes that uh, is taught in gun safety.
well, that's really good. And have you guys seen the ad for the concealed carries and home defense?
We wanted to take the concealed carry, but it's expensive. But um, you don't really need it because if you have a gun and it's exposed, it's all right to carry.
Well, that's called open carry.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, I've seen people open carry plenty down here, and it's not like a frowned upon thing. It's like people don't even give it a second look.
oh yeah,
Usually I'll give it a second look because I want to see what they're carrying. Just because I want to be like, whoa, what kind of gun he got? You know?
that's
Uh,
like who's shiny.
And you'll
yeah,
actually can't
basically.
you actually can't believe how many cops will stop people to actually see what gun they're carrying, not because it's not a legal stop. It's them just curious as to what gun that they have, and it's like to compare firearms.
Oh yeah, and I'm going to show this other ad for everybody who's not in Louisiana that or any other state that's open carry. The concealed carry and home defense is actually a really good class to take. I'll explain more after this.
Concealed Carry and Home Defense Fundamentals. Take a class where you will get the foundation needed to obtain your CCW permit. Get the confidence you need to act as your family's first line of defense. Learn about home security, marksmanship fundamentals, firearms basics, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, physiology of violent encounters, the legal aspect of using deadly force, and the aftermath of a home defense incident. Register for your Concealed Carry and Home Defense.
All right. The reason why I say it was really good to take that class because it teaches you more of how to be safe in the home, coming up with a good plan, and also how to protect yourself after the violent encounter. And I don't know if you guys know, it's like after that situation, that's where a whole lot of money comes in play.
Yeah.
And even like you guys said, you wanted to take the concealed carry and home defense one. It's like I can put up a class for virtual for people to attend, but it's not going to be a CHP class. It's not going to be a legit concealed carry permit class. It's just going to explain concealed carry and home defense so everybody can know. And because to get an actual CHP or a CCW, you need to do in person with a live fire.
Well, our concealed carry classes down here, yes, they're slightly expensive, but the only reason why we haven't really taken it is because the only full size revolver we have, which down here you require both a full size pistol and a full size semi auto and a full size revolver, is because the only full size revolver we have is my grandfather's service weapon that he had bought himself whenever he was in the sheriff's department, which is a original Colt Diamondback with a 7-inch barrel.
Oh wow, that's a nice revolver.
Yeah, it is. I've fired it a few times before we just were told to seal it away in a safe.
It has the original box, the original grips, even though he switched it to rubber grips to help with recoil. Original box is still there. Uh, Original tools for it. It's all there.
Oh wow. Man, gotta talk more about that next time around because I'm very interested in hearing more about that firearm.
Of course, anytime.
Yep. So this bring to end of our episode of the government shutdown and basic talk story amongst each other about everything. So next week episode is going to be Friday at 4. We're going to be talking about uh, different type of shootings, from mass shootings, school shootings, and how they categorize homicides and the one A word we're not really supposed to disclose on YouTube, Twitch, and so on. So tune in Friday at 4 o'clock next week to get the insight of that. Aloha. See you guys next week.